This is Scott Becker with the Becker's Healthcare Podcast. It'll also be a special edition of the Becker Private Equity and Business Podcast. We're thrilled today to be joined by sort of a brilliant leader in healthcare who's had this fascinating career. We're joined today by Thaddeus Thompson. Thaddeus is the Managing Director of Leland Healthcare Advisors and Consultants. He also spent several years at one of the greatest health systems in the world. He was with Mass General Brigham. He's had just a fantastic career. At some point, we'll ask him some questions about UNC versus Duke and get his take on that. Thaddeus, before I tee us up, tell us a little bit about yourself and about Leland Healthcare Advisors and about your career.
Scott, thank you for having me as a guest. I've worked in healthcare for 30 years. I started my career in direct patient care as a physical therapist. Subsequently went back to school to obtain my master in healthcare administration and joined Ernst & Young Consulting, which at the time had one of the largest healthcare consulting practices in the country. I've spent the last 25 years or so working in organizations of all sizes throughout the United States in clinical operations, service line management, and strategy. And as you mentioned, was with Mass General Brigham prior to starting my firm, Leland Healthcare Advisors and Consultants, in May of 2023, so about a year and a half ago. We're a solutions provider that partners with healthcare organizations, private equity, and venture capital-backed companies to support business growth and development. We accomplish this by gaining a deep understanding of roadblocks and challenges to organizational success, and then working with our clients to design and implement solutions. A critical element of that work is our ability to leverage business partnerships in areas such as data analytics and insight, strategic planning and implementation, and leadership training and development. However, we also work with our clients to analyze their challenges and vet solutions that represent whatever is the best fit for their specific institutional needs.
Fantastic. And talk about sort of today, what trends are you watching most closely in healthcare? Let's start there, and then let's talk about some of the best practices you see in systems deploying technology solutions, AI solutions, without disrupting their current platforms, their EMRs, their billing, et cetera, et cetera. How do you adopt some of these things without messing up what you're already doing? Talks about what trends you're watching and some of the best practices you see in deploying new technologies.
Yeah, my conversations and market view seem to be signaling that organizations are becoming increasingly aware of the critical importance of managing workforce engagement and cultural change as drivers to organizational transformation. And that's not to take away from the fact that technological advances continue to make meaningful contributions in enhancing performance across a myriad of operational and staff functions. You know, robotics and OR suites, or automation in the revenue cycle, advances in omnichannel marketing, just to name a few. However, it genuinely feels as though organizations are starting to appreciate that workforce engagement needs to be the first step in any transformation initiative. And that has always been a talking point. Perhaps it's always been given lip service, but I'm noticing what seems to be a recent shift in senior executives more deeply committing to it. To emphasize the point, people may think of private equity firms using financial engineering as the dominant tool in driving value creation, but the majority of PE firms that I'm encountering are placing increased emphasis on skills of their portco executives and operating partners as a critical resource. Those executives bring a deep understanding of the industry, as well as abilities to execute and engage employees and connect with the voice of the customer. And that shift represents an increased emphasis on human capital as a driver for organic growth and value creation. And of course, I'd be remiss not to point out the significant attention that's being directed towards artificial intelligence for seemingly everything. And the value proposition there seems to be primarily centered around AI's ability to simultaneously enhance workforce automation, customer engagement, and system integrations. And to your point, the best practices in this space seems to be solutions that support platform synchronization, and AI is an excellent tool for that. This means an organization can keep its legacy systems, some of which you mentioned, but capitalize on AI's ability to combine data and functionality from multiple underlying systems while creating both synergistic and more intuitive user experiences. From my perspective, this is a bigger driver in healthcare-related organizations than it is in most other industries because of the heightened resistance to change, particularly from many direct patient care professionals. So anything that limits healthcare workers from having to learn new processes and systems has really a multiplying effect. And AI's ability to do all of that while providing better access to data and better functionality for anyone who needs it is really important.
Thank you. And is your work more with health systems or with investors in healthcare, or a mix of both?
It's really a mix of both. From the standpoint of my background being heavily emphasized and most of my work being in healthcare systems and hospital organizations, that's part of our workforce. But more recently, more engagement with private equity backed firms. And so not direct with investors, but certainly representing investors by supporting private equity and venture capital portfolio businesses.
Thank you. When you look at the rest of this year and next year, Thaddeus, what are you most focused on and excited about? And are you more of a UNC fan or a University of Florida fan? Just give us that very quickly. And do you love Duke, or can you live without Duke?
I'll take the first part first. Most importantly is that Leland Healthcare Advisors and Consultants is delivering on its mission. Our clients are experiencing meaningful growth and development and significant improvements in bottom line performance, and that's exciting and emotionally rewarding. We're currently focused on two things. First, strengthening our business partnerships to further enhance our ability to support our clients' needs and create value for them. And second, on growing our client base so that we can help more healthcare organizations, health systems, and private equity supported businesses. I've been married for 25 years, met my wife at UNC, in fact. And we still joke to this day that on our first date, she asked me, "What do you do?" And I responded really without thinking much about it, "I help people." And that's really at the core of Leland Healthcare. Helping people in organizations in whatever form that takes is the driving force for the firm. And our clients have a variety of needs. But what matters most is that we listen intently, thoroughly define the issues, and help in ways that have positive and sustained impact. And that's the intent of our tagline, transform opportunity to success. And obviously the combination of having gone to UNC, having met my wife at UNC makes me pretty committed to the University of North Carolina. So in any situation, it's always going to be UNC, although not with the same level of tension with my Duke friends.
And God bless that. So you've had this wonderful, wonderful career. You've been also a lifelong learner. I mean, somebody who was back to get a master's after doing an initial degree, after several years, I just find so much respect for that and that effort to be a lifelong learner, to continue to grow and thrive. What advice, Thaddeus, would you give to emerging leaders, to people trying to build great careers, or to just be impactful and be satisfied with what they're doing?
Yeah, my advice is continuously examine your personal gifts and be true to them as a means to connect to purpose. And I'll acknowledge that that's not easy, a big ask maybe. But I think about the Leonardo da Vinci quote, "Make your work to be in keeping with your purpose," which you can also transpose to make your purpose to be in keeping with your work. In other words, sometimes you're able to select a job that aligns with your purpose, and sometimes you have to design or redesign your work to be in keeping with your purpose. And both of those require mental focus, resilience, and ongoing incremental changes to support your professional evolution without thinking too far into the future. It's important to live in the here and now. And with that mindset, we can, evaluate your current leadership development decisions, like, do you take the new job or do you stay in the current one? Do you go back to school or do you take just continuing education courses? Which professional organization do you join? What are the ideal skills for a mentor? Ultimately, I would say to zero in on principles of living with purpose and service to others as the compass for your leadership journey.
Thank you very, very much. And Thaddeus, where can people learn more about you and about Leland Healthcare Advisors? Where can they learn more about your firm and about
Yes,
yourself?
I'd certainly direct people to my landing page, lelandhealthcare.org. And there, if you have a specific need or interest, you can enter a contact request and I'll get directly in touch with you.
Thank you very, very much. Thaddeus, anything else you wanted to share today with listeners of the audience?
Scott, I really appreciate having the time to speak with you today. Obviously, our firm, as I mentioned, is focused on helping organizations develop in whatever ways they need to develop. I certainly consider it my purpose in life, and I hope that I'm able to do that for the remainder of my career. And again, thank you for the time.
Thaddeus, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it greatly. A pleasure to visit with you. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.